Ever been wronged? Like really wronged? We're not talking about your roommate stealing your leftovers, though that's objectively messed up. We're talking about real harm, damage to your body, your reputation, your stuff. That's where tort law comes in, folks. It's the legal system's way of saying, hey, you messed up, now pay the price. Think of tort law as the ultimate referee in the game of life. Someone throws an elbow, that's a foul. Company sells a faulty product that explodes, red card, buddy. Tort law is here to make sure people and companies think twice before they act recklessly and hurt others. Because nobody, and we mean nobody, gets to walk away scot-free after causing harm. This isn't just legal mumbo-jumbo. This is about understanding your rights, knowing when you've been wronged, and most importantly, knowing how to fight back. So buckle up, Buttercup, because we're about to dive headfirst into the wild world of torts. Let's break it down. Tort might sound like something you'd order in a French bakery, but trust us, it's way less delicious. In a nutshell, a tort is a civil wrong. It's when someone acts or fails to act, and that causes harm to another person. We're talking physical injury, emotional distress, damage to property, or even harm to someone's reputation. Here's the kicker: unlike criminal law, where the government throws you in the slammer, tort law is all about getting you to pay up. Think cold hard cash. It's about making things right, or at least trying to after someone screws up. We're talking about holding people accountable for their actions. Because in this crazy game of life, there are rules. And when you break those rules and hurt someone else, there have to be consequences. That's what tort law is all about. Some people, bless their hearts, just can't help themselves. They act recklessly, they disregard the well-being of others, and sometimes they straight up act with malice. That's where intentional torts come in. These are the big leagues, folks. We're talking about situations where someone meant to cause harm, or at the very least knew their actions were likely to cause harm. Think of it like this. You're walking down the street minding your own business when, bam, someone shoves you into a wall. No reason, no warning, just a deliberate act of aggression. That, my friends, is an intentional tort, and it can take many forms: assault, battery, false imprisonment, defamation. These are just a few examples of intentional torts that can seriously mess up your life. We're talking physical injury, emotional distress, damage to your reputation, the whole 9 yards. And the law says, not on my watch. Let's get real, folks. Assault and battery aren't just fancy legal terms. They're real-life situations that can have serious consequences. We're talking about violations of your personal space, your physical safety, and your basic human dignity. Assault is all about the threat of harm. It's that moment when someone swings a fist at you, even if they miss. It's the fear, the anticipation of pain that makes assault a serious offense. Battery, on the other hand, is the actual physical contact. It's the punch that lands, the shove that sends you sprawling. It's the unwelcome touching that leaves you feeling violated. But intentional torts go beyond just physical harm. False imprisonment, for example, is when someone restricts your freedom of movement without justification. Think being wrongfully detained by a store owner who accuses you of shoplifting, or being held against your will by an overzealous security guard. It's a terrifying experience that can leave lasting emotional scars. They did what? Intentional torts against your stuff. You know that feeling when someone keys your car? Or when your neighbor decides to borrow your lawnmower and accidentally runs over a rock? Yeah, that's the rage of an intentional tort against your property. We're not just talking about physical objects here, though. Intentional torts against property can also involve messing with your land or your financial interests. Think trespass to land, conversion, that's a fancy word for stealing, or even interference with your business relationships. It's about respecting boundaries, your boundaries. Because here's the thing, your property, whether it's your car, your house, or your business, is an extension of you. It represents your hard work, your investments, and your right to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And when someone messes with that, it's personal. Talk is cheap, but slander can cost you. Let's talk about gossip. Specifically, the kind of gossip that can destroy your reputation. We're talking about slander and libel, two big players in the world of intentional torts. Imagine this, you're up for a promotion at work. You've put in the hours, you've got the skills, and you're feeling good. But then, out of nowhere, a coworker starts spreading vicious rumors about you. They say you're lazy, incompetent, and stole money from the company. These are lies, of course, but the damage is done. You don't get the promotion, your colleagues start to avoid you, and your reputation is in tatters. That, my friends, is the devastating power of defamation. Slander, which is spoken defamation, and libel, which is written defamation, can have a devastating impact on your life. It's about protecting your good name, your integrity, and your standing in the community. Because in the age of social media, rumors spread like wildfire, and the consequences of those rumors can be very real. Unintentional torts, oops, my bad, but still liable. Okay, so far we've covered the folks who go out of their way to cause harm. But what about those situations where someone screws up, not because they're malicious, but because they're just clueless? Welcome to the world of unintentional torts, where good intentions don't always equal legal protection. The big kahuna here is negligence. It's the legal term for carelessness, for failing to act with reasonable care, and as a result, causing harm to someone else. Think of it like this. You're driving your car, not paying attention, and you rear-end the person in front of you. You didn't mean to cause an accident, but your lack of attention had consequences. Negligence pops up everywhere. From slip and falls in supermarkets to medical malpractice to car accidents, unintentional torts are a fact of life. But just because someone didn't mean to cause harm doesn't mean they're off the hook. If you can prove they acted negligently, they can still be held liable for your damages. Special negligence. Because sometimes regular negligence isn't enough. Buckle up, because we're about to dive into the wild world of special negligence doctrines. These are like the legal system's way of saying, hey, in certain situations we need to hold people to an even higher standard of care. Why? Because some activities are inherently risky, and we need to make sure people are extra careful when they're engaging in them. One example is professional malpractice. Doctors, lawyers, architects, these folks have specialized knowledge and skills, and we trust them to use those skills responsibly. So when a doctor misdiagnoses a patient or a lawyer gives bad legal advice, they can be held liable for professional negligence. Then there's negligence per se. This is where a law is broken, and that violation is considered to be so inherently dangerous that it automatically constitutes negligence. Think running a red light and causing an accident, the law is clear. You stop at red lights, you broke that law, you caused an accident, you're negligent, end of story. Strict liability, when you're guilty no matter what, almost. Here's the deal. Sometimes, even if you take all the precautions in the world, things can still go wrong. And in certain situations, the law says, tough luck, you're still liable. This is the realm of strict liability, a legal doctrine that applies to activities that are considered inherently dangerous. Think of it like this. You're a construction company using dynamite to demolish a building. You take all the safety measures you can think of, but a piece of debris flies off and injures a bystander. You didn't mean for that to happen, and you might have even done everything right, but under strict liability, you're still responsible. Why so harsh? Because some activities are just so risky that the law says, if you're going to engage in them, you're accepting the responsibility for any harm that results. It's about protecting the public from the inherent dangers of certain activities, even if the person engaging in those activities isn't directly at fault. Product liability and lemon laws, making sure your stuff doesn't suck, legally speaking. Ever buy a product that just didn't work, like straight up busted out of the box? Or worse, a product that was so poorly designed it actually caused you harm? That's where product liability comes in. A legal theory that holds manufacturers and sellers responsible for defective products. We're talking about everything from faulty toasters to exploding phones to cars with defective brakes. If a product is defective and causes harm, the manufacturer, distributor, and even the retailer can be held liable. It's about making sure companies are putting safe products on the market and that consumers have recourse if they get stuck with a lemon. And speaking of lemons, many states have lemon laws specifically designed to protect consumers who buy or lease new vehicles that turn out to be defective. These laws vary by state, but generally, they give consumers the right to a refund or a replacement vehicle if their new car has a significant defect that can't be repaired after a reasonable number of attempts. Know your rights, know your responsibilities, the final word on torts. So there you have it, folks. A crash course in the wild world of torts. We've covered everything from intentional acts of harm to unintentional screw-ups to products that just plain suck. But here's the takeaway. Tort law is about more than just legal definitions and courtroom dramas. It's about understanding your rights and responsibilities as a member of society. It's about knowing when you've been wronged and having the tools to seek justice. It's about holding people accountable for their actions and making sure that those who cause harm are held responsible. The legal system can be a complex and confusing place, but remember this: you don't have to navigate it alone. If you've been injured, if your property has been damaged, or if your reputation has been tarnished, there are legal avenues available to you. Seek out legal counsel, educate yourself about your rights, and fight for what's fair. Because in the game of life, knowing the rules can make all the difference.